أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسولنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ومن تبعه بإحسان إلى يوم الدين سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم سبحانك لا فهم لنا إلا ما فهمتنا إنك أنت الجواد الكريم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي وأفوض أمري إلى الله إن الله بصير بالعباد اللهم صل صلاة كاملة وسلم سلاما تاما على سيدنا محمد الذي تنحل به العقد وتنفرج به الكرب وتقضى به الحوائج وتنال به الرغائب وحسن الخواتم ويستسقى الغمام بوجهه الكريم وعلى آله وصحبه في كل لمحة ونفس بعدد كل معلوم لك اللهم إنا نسألك علما نافعا وقلبا خاشعا ولسانا ذاكرا مشاكرا وتوبة نصوحا اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من علم لا ينفع وقلب لا يخشع وعمل لا يرفع ونفس لا تشبع ودعاء لا يسمع رب يسر ولا تعسر رب تمم بالخير رب زدني علما وفهما والحقنا بالصالحين اللهم اجعلنا من التوابين واجعلنا من المتطهرين واجعلنا من عبادك الصالحين واجعلنا من الذين لا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون اللهم إنا نسألك موجبات رحمتك يا حي يا قيوم يا ذا الجلال والإكرام يا قدوس يا سلام لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. My respected brothers and very respected sisters, everybody who is watching us on the internet, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put barakah into our learning today. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put barakah into our evening and in our lives, inshallah. We on Tuesday evenings go through the little booklet of Imam Haafiz ibn Hajar al-Asqalaani, rahimahullah. At least 700 years ago it was written. The little booklet is entitled Munabbihaat al-Isti yawmi al-aadi. We have been going through the counsels within, advices within, and I think we are on the counsels of 5, because the book is categorized in such manner that there are sayings of 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. until the 10th. So we are halfway through the book, alhamdulillah. So we will continue from the place where we stopped last week, and for those who have the copies in front of you, you can copy, you can follow. We will read the last saying that we read last week, and from there onwards, inshallah, we'll cover the new material. قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم لا يعطي الله لأحد خمسا إلا وقد أعد له خمسا أخرى لا يعطيه الشكر إلا وقد أعد له الزيادة ولا يعطيه الدعاء إلا وقد أعد له الاستجابة ولا يعطيه الاستغفار إلا وقد أعد له الغفران ولا يعطيه التوبة إلا وقد أعد له القبول ولا يعطيه الصدقة إلا وقد أعد له التقبل صدق رسول الله فيما قال أو كما قال. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not give someone 5 things until He has prepared another 5 things for him beforehand. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not give a person ability to make shukr except that He has prepared for him an increase in his rizq, in His provisions and sustenance. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not give a person the ability to make dua except that He has prepared its acceptance, reward for it in the first place. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not give a person ability to make istighfar, asking for forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, except that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has prepared for him His forgiveness already. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to forgive him in the first place. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not give a person the ability to make tawbah and asking for repentance, except that He has prepared for him the acceptance beforehand. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not give a person the ability to give sadaqah, except that He has prepared for him its acceptance and reward. We went through this last week. There is a particular hadith of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Man yuridillahu bihi khayran yufaqihu fi ddin. He to whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wishes some goodness, some khair. Allah really wants to change you. Allah really wants to bestow upon you khair. He wants you to become a good servant of His. He wants to bestow His rida upon you. Yufaqihu ddin. Yufaqihu fi ddin. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you the deep, subtle, superlative understanding of the religion. Allah will give you the religion. Your heart will change. Your heart will not fight. Your heart will readily accept Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's commandments. Your heart will not, your nafs will not fight. And you'll become sincere in your iman, in your inner, in a very peaceful way. You will accept everything that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends to you. And the things will begin to make sense to you. You will begin to understand the hikmah behind certain things. You will not fight it. You will not find excuses to not to do it. You will not hide things. You will be absolutely transparent with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This comes through knowledge. This comes through being in the company of the salih people, good people. This comes through spending time in the company of the ulama, scholars, who will enlighten your heart. When the heart begins to work, heart begins to get polished. When the heart turns into a qalbun salim, from a rotten heart to a qalbun salim, a sound heart. When the knowables that you're supposed to know becomes very clear in your perception, in your eyes, where you're going, where you came from, your purpose in life becomes very easy and very clear in your life, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it means that it's easier for you to do ibadah, it's easier for you to keep away from the harams. Taqwa is very easy for you. Everything that you ask from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you find yourself that you're asking with tears in your heart. In your salat there is khushu'. In your night there is tahajjud. In your daily life there is dhikr. You find it quite easy. In your daily life there is tilawat al-Quran. In other words, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving you a particular thing which all together called fiqh of deen. Understanding of the deen. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, by the same token, he says, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, a munafiq will never have two qualities on him. Impossible. Two qualities will never and ever come together in the character of two attributes can never combine on the character of a munafiq. What is it? Fiqh deen. He will never understand the religion. He will never and ever understand the true purpose, the substance, the spirit of the religion. Everything will be superficial to him. Because all he's trying to do is get by and use people to his ends. He doesn't trust anybody. He doesn't believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the first place. And secondly, he will never have husnul samt or husnul khuluq in a different version of the same hadith. Husnul samt meaning he will not have the character, inner beauty, inner attributes of a Muslim. Because our morality, high standards that we set for ourselves stems from our belief, our iman. Our responsibility, our understanding comes from, our responsibility comes from in the belief that we shall be accountable for on the Day of Judgment. We will not cheat anybody. We will be extremely careful with the huququl ibad, rights of others, fulfilling the rights of others. We will be so diligent, we'll be so careful, and therefore our behavior patterns, which we call, based on Islam, akhlaq, will be so crystal clear to us that will govern our lives. But to a munafiq, this will not exist. Munafiq will not have husn samt. So if a person is loved by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah intends some goodness for you, some khair for you, these 5 things will immediately become easy for you. What are those 5 things? Shukr. Kafir, munafiq, fasiq can never make shukr to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Being able to make shukr to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a great gift. A kafir, munafiq, fasiq, fajr can never appreciate what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives. No matter how little it is or how big it is, they can never see it. A Muslim, on the other hand, will immediately recognize and straight away say, Alhamdulillah, shukr ya Rabbi, Alhamdulillah, ya Rabbi. Alhamdulillah, ya Rabbi, Alhamdulillah, shukr ya Rabbi. I have everything. Thank you, Allah. A munafiq, a fasiq will constantly complain, constantly whinge, lack of means, stress levels are so high because he doesn't understand. He can't see anything that comes. Even the ni'mah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives to that person, because of his lack of shukr, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes it away. So he's left with, stranded with no ni'mah, no gift, no bounty. Ability to make shukr is a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, those whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wishes some goodness, some khair. Ability to make dua. Dua is mukhul ibadah, the essence of ibadah. Dua is the one that you make from your heart, bilhal or bilqal, with your attitude or with your words, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, your communication with your Creator. When you put your hands up, when no one's watching, when you really tears rolling through your cheeks, and you really communicate to Him, when was the last time? When was the last time you actually asked anything from Allah? Except for the superficial formula that you have memorized after salat, you say it for a few seconds, and after finished. That's not dua. That's not dua. If your house is on fire, if your child is in cancer, having a cancer, na'udhu billah, in the hospital, and you can't pay the bills, and if your relatives are in a refugee camp, and your wife is gone, your children are gone, you're really in such a amazing predicament. When you go to an authority where this authority can solve every problem of yours, do you say, no. You design, you sit down, how am I going to put my case to that person? How am I going to put my case to that authority? From everything that I want to say clearly, so I don't want to be misunderstood. You will work your way so much to an authority. This is just for some bala. How about for some goodness, some khair, some money, some wealth, some job that you're applying to? In an interview, how do you speak? No. You want to be articulate as much as possible. You want to impress the other person as much as possible so you can get a job. How about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? When was the last time we actually put our hands up and poured our hearts out to Rabbil Alameen? Asked. If you cannot make dua, wallahi, Allah doesn't like you. I'm telling you. If you really can make dua, if after salat you don't run away from dua, and you really put your hand up and really beg Allah, put your heart to Him. In other words, Allah loves you. Allah accepts you. Allah allows you to make dua. And for each dua that you make, Allah gives you. Majority in the hereafter, some of it, if it's suitable for you, in this dunya. Always, if you cannot make dua to Allah, there is something wrong with your Islam. There is something wrong with your Iman. There is something wrong with who you are, your identity. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, if you did not have your du'as, what value do you have? Nothing. Nothing. Animals, they make their dua. Bilhal. Not bilqal. Bilhal. And they will always receive the rizq. Human beings become arrogant when things begin to go their way. And all of a sudden they remember Allah when the things become bad, difficult for them. Therefore they beg Allah and they forget Allah when the things go good again. Ability to make shukr, ability to make dua is a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For such person where Allah is pleased with, Allah will prepare your ability to make shukr, your ability to make dua if He likes you. Istighfar. Many people do not even know that they are sinning. How in the world are they going to make istighfar? Istighfar means forgiveness. Astaghfirullah. Astaghfirullah. Astaghfirullah al-Azim, al-Kareem, al-Rahim, alladhi la ilaha illa hu, al-Hayy al-Qayyum wa natubu ilayh. Wa nas'alu at-tawbata wal-maghfirata wal-hidayata lana, innahu huwa at-tawwab ar-Rahim. تبدو توبة عبد ظالم لنفسه لا يملك لنفسه موتا ولا حياة ولا نشورا. اللهم أنت ربي لا إله إلا أنت خلقتني وأنا عبدك وأنا على عهدك ووعدك ما استطعت أبوء لك بنعمتك علي وأبوء بذنبي فاغفر لي ذنوبي جميعا فإنه لا يغفر الذنوب إلا أنت وارحمني إنك أنت الغفور الرحيم. Many people say this every day without even knowing the meaning of it. And many people, when they say, they tremble. This is istighfar. Ya Rabbi, la ilaha illa ant. There is none worthy of worship except you. I am your servant. You have created me. Here I am, Ya Rabbi. To the best of my ability, I try my best to be a good servant of yours. I am upon the promise that I gave you. La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, the covenant. And here I am, Ya Rabbil Alameen. I confess to you all my sins, shortcomings. I also acknowledge all the ni'mah, great gifts that you constantly give me. Oh Allah, please forgive me. Please forgive me, Ya Rabbil Alameen. For none shall ever forgive my sins except you. This is something that you're supposed to do it from your heart. To have this heart, if you have this heart and you can make this istighfar, Sayyid al-Istighfar in particular, at all times, inshallah you're on the right path. Your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is excellent. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam suggests for us to make istighfar 100 times a day. He asks us to say istighfar 70 times a day. 70 times a day. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, I say 70 times astaghfirullah. There are many Muslims every day who call themselves Muslims, but there is no istighfar in their lives. No astaghfirullah. Only when they get angry, they say, astaghfirullah al-Azim. They get angry, they say, astaghfirullah. What does that mean? Like, Jesus Christ, blasphemy? Astaghfirullah al-Azim. Astaghfirullah al-Azim. Astaghfirullah al-Azim. In your heart you feel sorrow, you feel sadness and asking for forgiveness for the shortcoming that you've done, a little error that you made. For smaller sins, astaghfirullah al-azim. Smaller sins, astaghfirullah al-azim. La saghirata ma'al istighfar. La saghirata ma'al istighfar. لا كبيرة مع الاستغفار لا صغيرة مع الإصرار. To this effect, if a person, no matter how sinful that person is, if he keeps on making tawbah, those things will be washed away. Constantly go away. And wash, polish. Eventually you'll become absolutely clean. But if you insist, on the other hand, on the smaller sins that you think that insignificant, the little sins no longer will remain as little sins, they'll turn into huge branches, huge trees, a forest. That's what Rasulullah also says to us. If you are able to make tawbah and istighfar, it means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has accepted you. It's a ni'mah, you must make shukr. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not allow anybody to give sadaqah except that He has prepared for him the acceptance and reward for it. Giving sadaqah is something that is very special. A sheikh was telling a story. He says there is a particular stop in one of the two cities that he travels constantly, where there is no other way to stop except that particular the bus stop. In that bus stop, between there's a coach stop, terminal, it's a Muslim place, 100%, it's a Muslim country. There is not a place to pray salat. People have to make wudu in the open and in winter and cold, and the guy is filthy rich. And he gets everybody to go up to the roof, and in that cold and filthy place he asks people to pray. And our sheikh is a person of good words. He said to him, why don't you build a little masjid here? Turn one of these rooms into a masjid, or put a little extension to outside and put a masjid. You've got the place and you've got the money. You'll get the hasanat for it. He said, yeah, inshallah next year. Inshallah next year. Next year. Sheikh passes through that place the next year again. And the same condition. Calls him again. I asked you last time to build a little masjid here so that people, hundreds of people pass through here every year so they can do their salat properly. You get the hasanat for it. Inshallah, next time. He passes there a third time, unchanged condition. So he goes downstairs to see the management. He says, where is such and such? I want to talk to him. This time he wants to be very stern with him. They said, oh, please make dua for him. Allah yarhamu. He passed away. Yep, he passed away. 3 years he couldn't do it. He passed away 2 weeks ago. He couldn't do it. Allah will not allow you to do it if your heart is not in the right place. Again, our Shaykh again explains one particular story. He says there is one particular man who's absolutely rich, filthy rich. And as a brother who goes to him, doesn't expect anything from him, he really gives it to him. He says, look at you. You're 45 plus. You can have a heart attack tomorrow and die. When is the time that you're going to give some sadaqah? You don't give a single cent to anybody. What are you going to do with this money? Aren't you going to, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to give it to him. Following day, he received a message. Your friend, the one they was talking to, is in the hospital, had a heart attack. What? He says, oh no, maybe, what do you call it? He said to him, I'm going to make a dua that you're going to have a heart attack. Initially when he was scaring him off, I'm going to make a dua that he's going to have a heart attack. So he went to the hospital and says, I'm sorry brother, I really didn't mean that one. I didn't make dua for you to have a heart attack, but I was just trying to help you. I was trying to remind you of your duties to the community, to yourself. He says, I know. I realize my mistake. Inshallah, as soon as I come out of the hospital, I'm going to do lots of sadaqah, lots of charity. He says, Wallahi, he came out of the hospital. went back to his old self. He did not give a single cent. And he, the following year, had another heart attack and died. What does it say here? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not prepare a person to give sadaqah except that He has prepared for him his acceptance. Allah doesn't like him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't like him. He's going to hold him responsible on the Day of Judgment for every single penny. To be able to give sadaqah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's anger is extinguished, curbed through sadaqah. A Muslim is always give sadaqah. Always give sadaqah. When Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, before he passed away, they asked him a question, his wives. Ya Rasulullah, which of us will go after you or before you? Who's going to die first? Who's going to die first amongst us? Amongst his wives. He says, the one with the longest hand, the one with the longest arm. Subhanallah. Women, literalists, they went to the next room and says, come here. Everybody measure their arms. Measure arms, one is shorter, okay, that means I'm not going to go first. And, oh, you're going to go first? Zainab, our mother, passed away. And they just realized immediately. It was not the physical length of the arm. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam symbolically telling them, the one who gives most sadaqah is going to follow me first. Who's going to die first? Amongst my wives, who's going to die first? So it was her. To be able to give sadaqah is a great gift. There's a box there, outside, inside the masjid. I sometimes really admire so much some of our brothers. Just 10 cents. 50 cents. What's 50 cents, man? It's 50 cents. $1, $5, $10, $100. Well, whatever pocket thing you have. Just each time you come out of salat, just get used to giving that sadaqah. Charity. Give. You can't go wrong. You can't go wrong. Because your heart slowly gives a little bit from the heart. Because everything that you give has to go through here. The heart. Some people cannot give anything. Don't belittle. Shaitan will say, what's 10 cents? Believe me, that 10 cents becomes mountains on the Day of Judgment. And for those Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not love, dislike, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not allow them to give sadaqah. They have millions, but they can't use it. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from such end. So, if Allah intends any goodness for you, He gives you fiqh, deep understanding of the religion. What are those? With those qualities, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you ability to make shukr, ability to make dua, ability to make istighfar, and ability to make tawbah, and ability to give sadaqah. So these are the 5 qualities that we must try to instill in our hearts. We must try our best. So these are the doors of approach to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Shukr, dua, istighfar, tawbah, and sadaqah. Next saying is from Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu. عن أبي بكر الصديق رضي الله تعالى عنه قال الظلمات 5 والسرج لها 5 حب الدنيا ظلمة والسراج له التقوى والذنب ظلمة والسراج له التوبة والقبر ظلمة والسراج لها لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله والآخرة ظلمة والسراج لها العمل الصالح والصراط ظلمة والسراج له اليقين. Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu, he says, Zulm, darkness. This is not the darkness of the outside darkness. This is a different type of darkness. Zulm, darkness of 5 types. And the lamp, the light, a 5 for it. So if you are in such darkness, you need those 5 lights to put the lights on. Spiritual darkness we're talking about. Darkness. Hubbu dunya is a darkness, and its lamp, its raj, is taqwa. Subhanallah. What will stop you from having hubbu dunya? One of the greatest diseases of the heart. Hubbu dunya, taqwa. Dhunub, sins, sayyi'at, are darknesses, and their lamp is tawbah. The qabr, the grave, is a darkness, and its lamp is La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah. The akhirah, hereafter, is a darkness, and its lamp is a'mal al-salihah, righteous deeds. And there shall be darkness on the bridge of Sirat, bridge over Jahannam, Sirat. There is a darkness, and its lamp is yaqeen, certitude. Actually, the true meaning in this one is ikhlas. In Surah Al-Hadid, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions this. Darkness of the heart. Difficulties of this life brings darkness into the heart. Concern for this world, concern for what is in it, brings darkness upon this heart. Chasing this dunya constantly brings darkness into the heart. Heart is not created for this dunya. Heart has a different function altogether. Concern for akhirah, concern for hereafter, concern for what your position with Allah, constantly, and therefore constantly you are on guard and protecting your heart from any form of dhulam, darkness, is actually nur to the heart. Some of our women used to say to their husbands when they come home, during long time ago, not nowadays, when they see the husband in really stressful mode, stressed out, because husband is the one who goes outside and wins the bread. He's really tired and depressed and stressed out. The wife says, "Oh husband, if you're concerned, your stress is due to your akhirah, for your position with Allah, may Allah increase it for you. For verily, concern for akhirah will give nur to your heart. But if your concern is for this dunya, your job, your environment, the people that you related with, your lack of means, your problems of this dunya, then she says, don't worry, come inside, inshallah. I'll fix you up. I'll put a smile on your face. I'll release all your stresses, come." This is the nature of human beings. Every day, everything affects us. Everything actually, in essence, affects our hearts. The inlets into our hearts, our tongue, our eyes, our ears, our thought processes, constantly affect our hearts. Anything that comes through those inlets into our hearts in terms of disobedience and haram, verily just poisons it, numbs it. It's a darkness. Heart stops functioning the way it's supposed to be functioning. The opposites of all these, that is, if your heart if your mind is processing thoughts which are pro your deen, pro the commandments of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, pro akhirah, your heart becomes occupied with good thoughts. When your eyes are looking at not haram but halal, something that is pleasant, something that is to be looked at, then it affects your heart also. Your tongue, your speech talks nothing but halal and good and khair, it also affects your heart. And you listen nothing but good and khair, it also affects your heart. Qalbun Salim, definition of a Qalbun Salim is as such that when you are in charge of the inlets into your heart is protected. Otherwise, when we get the poison into our viruses into our heart through these inlets, our heart becomes extremely distressed. In dhulm, darkness. Everything looks so dark. You're so unhappy. You have everything, but you are so unhappy. Because the heart is unhappy. أَلَا بِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ لَتَطْمَئِنُّ الْقُلُوبِ. The cure for the heart is making dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Cure for heart is thinking of death. Not for the sake of thinking of death, but thinking of what's going to happen to you beyond the death. Concern for akhirah. رابطة الموت, تفكر الموت, تذكر الموت, these are the polishes of the heart. Constantly, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says so. Tilawat al-Quran, those words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala begins to give that nourishment into your heart. Your heart begins to change. If not, we're in trouble. There are 5 types of darknesses which sets into the heart of a Muslim. Hubb ad-dunya. Unfortunately, this is the biggest, the major, if not 99.9% of all times, hubb ad-dunya enters into our hearts. When hubb ad-dunya, love of this dunya, worldliness, worshipping everything around us, the things that give us benefit in this dunya, we want it so much. Wanting those things, our homes, our cars, our jobs, our money, our prestige within the society, our reputation within the society, everything and anything, who we are that makes us us, when we give our heart to it, it becomes hubb ad-dunya. Heart is not created for this. Heart is created for something else. Heart is here to see things. Heart is here to see the reality and work for hereafter. Nothing more, nothing less. Constantly Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to make the dua. Ya muqallib al-qulub, thabbit qalbi ala dinika wa ta'atik. ولا تكلني إلى نفسي طرفة عين ومن أقل من ذلك. Oh Allah, oh the one who constantly changes the hearts. Heart's not in your hand. Mashaykh tell us, heart is such a precious thing. Shaitan tries to control it, it can't control it. Malaika tries to control it, they can't control it. Nafs tries to control it, can't control it. It constantly changes. The only controller is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Who do you ask? Ya muqallib al-qulub. Oh, the one who changes the hearts. Thabbit qalbi ala dinik. Please make my heart steady. Steadfast. In what? In your deen. وَلَا تَكِلْنِي إِلَى نَفْسِي. Do not leave me in the hands of my wretched self. Nafsul ammara. For a duration of a blink of an eye. Even a duration less than that. Challenge. Every day we go through this. I went through this 17,000 times today. After that I stopped counting. My heart was going up and down, up and down, up and down. Constantly. It's just a zigzag. Constantly. After Fajr, you were an angel. Came Zuhr time, you're a shaitan. Comes the Asr time, you're an angel. Comes Maghrib time, you're shaitan. Comes Isha time, you're shaitan again. You don't even pray your Isha and go to sleep. You're so tambal, you're so lazy. You come up with excuses and say, I'll pray after, inshallah, before I get up Fajr, I'll get up. And you'll never get up. Who's controlling this? Who's controlling this? Who's controlling this? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Therefore you constantly ask Him, Ya muqallib al-qulub, thabbit qalbi ala dinik. Don't be arrogant. So this requires for you to make dua. Coming back to the other blessing. Dua. حب الدنيا رأس كل خطيئة. Love of this dunya is the root cause of every error. Reason why we make mistakes. Reason why we sin. The reason why we become so selfish. Why we worship our own selves. And dunya is because of this hubb dunya. Love of this dunya. This is a condition. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala works on binary condition. Binary states. And please understand this. You understand majority of binary. Simple. In the olden days maybe it's difficult to explain, but it's easier to explain. You're either in it or out of it. You're either switched on or off. There is no in-between state. You're either worshipping Allah, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, or you're worshipping shaitan. Ya bani Adam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Yasin, La ta'budu shaitan, innahu lakum aduwwun mubin. Do not worship shaitan. Astaghfirullah. Do any of you worship shaitan? Astaghfirullah al-azim. No. But there is a condition, binary, off, on, 0 or 1. Either this light is switched on, light, or darkness. There is no in between. You're either worshipping Allah, or anything that is not Allah, ghayrullah is meaning, is a trick of shaitan, and you are worshipping shaitan alayhi la'na. If you do not have hubbullah in your heart, if your heart is not occupied with dhikrullah, if your heart is not getting nourishment from dhikrullah and ibadah and ma'rifah and muhabba, it is getting a nourishment from what? Hubbud dunya. Simple as this. 2 states. You're either in it or out of it. You can't be in between. Honey and vinegar do not mix. Poison and sugar do not mix. You can't. It's impossible. One will overtake. Always poison will take over. Poison will overtake. That's the law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And yet there are Muslims like me, I'm the first one in this boat, who thinks that Allah is Ghafoor Rahim. Allah will forgive, therefore let me just enjoy for a while. Ignore Allah for a while. And when I become old, I used to say this when I was young, I'm still saying it. I am 46. I'm just thinking the other day, I've got another 10 years to go. Because all my teachers and all my grandparents, they all died at the age of 63. 46, 66, less than 20 years to go. What's 20 years? Nothing. But this is me. You need to think along the same line. Yours may be 40 years extra. Yours may be 80 years extra. So what? But this is going to come to an end. There is a game over sign coming up. Game over sign is coming up. You can't play this game forever. Impossible. Hubbud dunya is a disease. Is a game that shaitan plays. We need to understand who we are. Our purpose is to worship Allah. Our purpose is to gain His pleasure. Our purpose is to go through the tribulations and afflictions and difficulties in this life. And if there are enjoyments, we have to recognize it's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and be grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In this line called qadar, everybody has a different, unique qadar. Allah constantly sends to you, without you knowing it. Sometimes thousands at a time. You didn't recognize what is good for you and what is bad for you. You need to know and acknowledge in what circumstances you need to make shukr and what circumstances you need to make sabr. Never to complain. And everything that happens to you happens because Allah wants those things to happen to you. Never complain. Hubbud dunya. Once you're in hubbud dunya land, everything changes. You can justify all your actions. You see yourself better than everybody else. You're so self-centered and self-opinionated. Everybody's wrong, you're right. You are Mr. Perfect, everybody's rubbish. These are the rules of Hubb Dunya. You will compete with everybody to get to the top. You'll kill everybody who stands in your way. You will worship yourself. You will worship your whatever that is that your nafs loves. That's what it is, Hubb Dunya. This does not mean you do not benefit from this dunya. You will benefit from this dunya. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, he who makes his main concern, dunya, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will never bring his shamla together. He'll never put his two collars together. He'll never make ends meet. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will put faqr, poverty, destitution between two eyes. He'll be so afraid of becoming poor and losing control on the streets. Day and night he will work. Day and night he will chase dunya. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, I'm not saying this, I can show you the hadith, 100%. He says, however, he will not leave this dunya. He'll never catch the dunya. He will never and ever make it in the dunya. He will be always concerned. The fear will be there, he'll be constantly chasing this dunya, but he will not leave this dunya until what was written for him in his qadar, in his rizq, until the last drop of food and drink. He will get everything which was written for him billions of years ago in his qadar. However, he says, he who makes his akhirah, his main concern, and day and night works for akhirah. This time, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gives something special. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will put his affairs in order. He's no longer will have this stressful life. Allah will put things in order in his heart. And this dunya that he doesn't even want will come to him crawling. Please have me. Please have me. That's the nature. That's the law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he also shall not leave this world without first depleting completely what was allotted for him in the predestination in Qadar. Simple as this. Therefore, a Muslim is a person who works in dunya, who benefits from this dunya, and who really uses the dunya to his advantage. But he does not give his heart to this dunya. Giving heart to this dunya is called worldliness. Worldliness. You live in the world, but you don't become worldly. You are created for something else. You shall go back to something else. Your eternal life, this is just a temporary transit hall. Yep. There was a movie quite interesting about the terminal, I don't know what it was called. The guy who was stuck in the terminal for a couple of months, 6 months or so, because he couldn't get any visa somewhere. He was stuck in a terminal, one of the terminals in the world. Oh yes, he got to know everybody. Everybody comes and goes. But eventually he had to go. When we go to Hajj, when we go to overseas, oh, everybody loves Singapore Airlines. And Singapore, terminal. Beautiful, gorgeous. Man, I like this place. Let me stay in this place. This place is nice. Oh, my luggage here, I'll get chair here, I'll get this here. What will the authorities do to you? They'll tolerate you until your plane is, you arrive. Okay, for 8 hours you had a chance. After 8 hours, your plane is here. Excuse me, Yallah, go. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, tell me, if any of you wants to build a house on a bridge that everybody passes over every day, will the people allow you to build a house on top of a bridge where everybody passes? How many cars pass through Westgate Bridge? By the thousands. Can you imagine you got the construction company, you're rich, powerful. I want to build a hut right in the middle of the road on the Westgate Bridge. And you tell me straight away, no, they'll lock him up immediately. Where? In the mental asylum. Because that person is gone, berserk. When Rasulullah ﷺ asked this question, will people allow a person to build a house over a bridge that everybody passes through every day? There's a big river. They said, no, Ya Rasulullah, of course they will not. Rasulullah says, a person who puts his heart to this dunya and only works for this dunya is like that silly man who tries to build a house over that bridge. This dunya is a transit hall. Hubbud dunya is the bells and whistles. When your heart is constantly occupied with the bells and whistles, that you are what? Tell me, who was richer than Qarun? Who was more powerful than Fir'aun? These are archetypes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about in the Quran. What happened when Malakul Maut came to him? Who was more powerful than the guy who called himself God? Ana rabbukum al-a'la, he says. Na'udhu billah. Fir'aun, who represented the biggest empire in the world at the time, the most powerful empire. And everybody in the land used to worship this guy. What happened to him when the death came? Gone. What I'm trying to say is, a Muslim is a smart person. Doesn't fall into Hubbud Dunya. Hubbud Dunya is the root cause of all of our diseases. In Yemen, last year, I met some young children. One was 14, the other one was 16. Teenagers. They've been in Yemen for the last 4 years. Both of them were from Texas, US. Both of them were Haafiz. And both of them were studying the deen. MashaAllah, these are Americans, not Arabs, Americans. They spoke beautiful Arabic. There were many people coming to visit us. We went to a particular place in Tarim. You have to understand, this is a place where there is nothing like our life. It's at least 1,000 years behind us. No television, no KFC, no McDonald's, no computer games. It is no scenery, no greenery, nothing at all, no cars. Anything and everything that you imagine, impossible. It's a desert. I wanted to see these two young, because I saw many people who are mature, I understand, mature people, but these two I wanted to see in particular. And they speak English. I met, and I asked them a question. I said, what are you guys doing here? I meant to say, you left the land of US, where everything was at your feet. You enjoyed life so much. You came to the most remotest part of the world where there is nothing. Land of, deprivation. Land of lack of means. He says, we came to seek the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We came to seek the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I said, why? How? How did you do it? I understand these elderly people doing it because they experience everything, but you are at the fountain of where your hormones and your energy levels, and everything is there. How did you make it? He said, we need to burn our bridges. And he turned around and said, one of them, that bridge is Hubbud Dunya. And he repeated this hadith, Hubbud Dunya ra'su kullu khati'ah. Love of this dunya is the root cause of all errors. He says we had to give up dunya in order to gain Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I am so happy Allah gave me Haafiz. I memorized his book. I'm learning constantly. Inshallah, a time will come for me to go back to Texas and call people to the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not going to be my land. I'm not here for long, another 5 years or so perhaps. Then I go back and invite people to the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He reminded me this hadith that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam tells us. Our Shaykh used to constantly tell us, Hubbud dunya ra'su kullu khati'ah. Love of this dunya is the root cause of all evils. Once you make a wrong turn into Hubbud dunya territory, from the Sirat al-Mustaqim, you lose everything. Because everything becomes Nafsi, nafsi, nafsi. Everything becomes dunya. I want this, I want this. Go and get some more. Haram, halal, doesn't matter. Go and get some more. I want to work harder. I want to work harder. I want to work harder. I want to make more millions. Money gives you that ability, therefore work harder. Man, we have enough. Alhamdulillah, we've got a house, another holiday house somewhere else. We've got 7 cars. What else do you want? More, more. This will never, never, never finish. This is called worldliness. Hubbud dunya. And this is not what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants. If this dunya had value in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as much as the wing of a dead mosquito, wing of a gnat, hadith says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would not have given a sip of water to a kafir to drink. Even if you had the whole dunya to yourself. كُلُّ نَفْسٍ ذَائِقَةُ الْمَوْتِ. All souls shall experience, taste death. وَإِلَيْنَا تُرْجَعُونَ. And you shall come back to us. It's a transit hall. But for us to understand this at a younger age and therefore chart a course for our lives is the most crucial point in a Muslim's life. Many Muslims do not understand this until very old, when they can no longer move, when they can no longer enjoy anything, when they are taking 20 tablets a day and all they do all day is visit one doctor, another doctor, another doctor. I visited the other day one family that I go and visit every now and then. Wallahi, I've never seen such a house in my life. Carpets, exotic, made pure out of silk, with gold pieces in it. I was scared to touch the carpet. He says, no, walk on it. Everywhere, it's like a museum. I said, subhanallah, a couple of $1 billion here? I'm just joking. He told me something. He says, Mahmud, it's all for nothing. I wasted my entire life for this, he says. I wish I had the understanding that I have now. My life could have been something completely different. All I wanted was this. And Allah gave it to me. But he did not start praying until the age of 65, 66. He never understood anything until very late in his life. So the whole purpose of me talking to you in a topic that nobody talks about, death, don't love dunya, don't get your heart to it, because it's no longer crying over spilled milk later on in your lives. You decide now, as a young person. You can decide and that's it. I am going to live my life according to the dictates of the deen. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala let me come to this world with a silver spoon in my mouth, I'm going to enjoy it, but I'm going to make shukr, alhamdulillah. And I'm going to spend it with sadaqah. And I'm going to help with charity. I'm going to use this to gain Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's pleasure. If I don't have it, I'm not going to hanker after this dunya and waste my akhirah. Because everybody who constantly works for dunya, it eventually loses the akhirah. This is the law. Simple as this. Dhunub. Dhunub. How long is it for Salat? Inshallah. Dhunub is the plural of the word dhanb. Sins are also darkness to the heart. Hubbud dunya is a darkness and its lamp is taqwa. Only a Muslim will have taqwa. Only a Muslim will abstain from the temptations. Maharimillah, the boundaries of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, will keep away from. That's haram. No problem. I keep away from it. It's taqwa. Oh, that's very attractive. Haram. I can't do it. Allah, my Rabb said to me, I can't look, I can't take, I can't touch, I can't benefit from it. It's haram. Khalas. End of story. Don't even come to me. Don't even come to me. But if you're in the hubbud dunya territory, even harams become meaningless to you. It's just a rule to be broken. And that is imposed by the society or the people like me. The Sheikh says so. Who the heck is Sheikh? Taqwa is here. Ha huna, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says. Ha huna. Taqwa is the invisible police within you that controls you. I told the other day, I saw one brother at the supermarket. He was wearing a beautiful jacket, but as soon as I came close to the jacket, I realized that it was made out of pure pig leather. He didn't know. If you're a good muttaqi Muslim, if I were to tell you that you're wearing the pig leather, what would you do? Astaghfirullah al-Azim, just take it off. Correct. Because the last thing that you want to do is offend Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know what he said to me? He says, man, I bought it 2 days ago for $500 from Myers. Let me enjoy it a little bit. This is our attitude towards harams. We know it's haram. We know that we shouldn't be doing it. But we're doing it. Why is that? Because we're in the hubbud dunya territory. There is no taqwa in our hearts. Taqwa is something that controls you. Control mechanism. Taqwa is avoiding what is haram. Avoiding what is prohibited. Not somebody pushes this prohibition onto you. You know in your heart. Sin is defined as something that gives agitation to your heart. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says. No matter what other people give you as a fatwa, to do this, you can do this, man, no problem, do it. But sin is something that really makes your heart constricted, agitated. You don't like it. Even Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, even the muftis give you fatwa, says follow this heart of yours. A heart which has taqwa will always avoid harams. If you're not in the haram territory, you're not in the hubbud dunya territory. So, when there is taqwa, by default, if the taqwa light is on, there is no darkness, dhulm of hubbud dunya. When there is no taqwa, what does that mean? Hubbud dunya is in you. That's what it says. Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu. Dhunub, sins are darkness, and the lamp is tawbah. When there is tawbah, there is no dhunub. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, forgive me. Huwa al-Ghafur rahim Tawwab rahim Sattar al-Uyub. The cover of sins. How does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive? Maghfirah. You know what maghfirah means? Maghfirah. What do the army wear? What the soldiers wear on their big helmets? Helmet in Arabic called mighfar. Something that protects you. When you make a tawbah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you know what happens? Subhanallah. In the hadith of Rasulullah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when a servant makes a sincere tawbah, this is called tawbah al-nasuha. Sincere tawbah. First, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes the angels who recorded these sins into your book forget that they've recorded it. It's deleted from the book. Your hands, your limbs of body that you committed the sins with, your legs, your eyes, your ears that committed those sins, they also forget. And the earth, the ard, where the sin is committed, the place, the club, the environment that you committed the sin, they also forget. All the atoms in there, they forget. That's how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives. In other words, when the nur comes into a world, there is not a single grain of darkness left. Nothing is left. When you make tawbah, when you turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah accepts your tawbah at all times. Tawbah is a dynamic function of a Muslim. That we must always, constantly make tawbah. Tawbah is not once in a lifetime. Tawbah is every day. Tawbah is every day. Tawbah, we use it in the sense for major sins. Istighfar for the minor sins. Meaning the same thing, asking for forgiveness. Every day. Tawbah means making a U-turn. Tawbah means changing your life 180 degrees. Changing your life means changing your friendships, changing your environment, changing your locality, changing your habits, changing everything. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enlighten our hearts, inshallah. Put nur into our hearts. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put barakah into our lives. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hold our hands and guide us to Sirat al-Mustaqim. Keep us on ihtina Sirat al-Mustaqim. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us with beneficial knowledge. Ilman nafi'a. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us with amalan salihah. Good deeds that is accepted by Him. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us with ikhlas, sincerity and yaqeen. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us with friends who are salihin. May Allah bless us with environment who are salihin. Bless us with teachers who are righteous, muttaqoon. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us of the mukhlasoon. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep us in a state of Islam, iman and yaqeen in our entire lives. When our time comes, let us leave this world in our last moments to be our best moments in our lives, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pleased with us. Where the last deeds of our lives are the best deeds that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala 100% accepted from us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala let us die in a state of yaqeen, iman, with husnul khatimah, good ending, as Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to be resurrected in the company of the siddiqeen, shuhada wa salihin, and anbiya. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to get together under the flag of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Liwa al-Hamd, and drink from Hawd al-Kawthar, and enter into Jannah inshallah, bighayri hisab, without any reckoning, any questioning. Enter into Jannah with dukhul al-awwaleen, with the first entrance into Jannah. And let us be neighbors to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and experience inshallah his jamal from Jannah. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت وحدك لا شريك لك نستغفرك ونتوب إليك بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر صدق الله العظيم لله تعالى الفاتحة.